In older homes, windows were generally just a piece of glass, and you could touch that glass in the wintertime and you could feel either the heat or the cold from the outside. So then they started to make what we call insulated windows. Some people call them thermal pane windows, some people call them double pane windows, but there's an air space in between, and that allows for the air to neutralize from the outside to the inside, and that's where all the energy efficiency started to come in at. The thicker that air space, the more room there is for that air to neutralize. If you're in an older home and you do want to look at some replacement windows, your home improvement warehouses are obviously a good place to do some comparison shopping. There's a lot of local dealers. You want to look at the UV ratings, because that's going to not only help with the energy, but it's also going to help keep your fabrics from fading and that kind of thing. You also want to look for a low co-efficiency rating, and these numbers basically tell you what kind of energy savings you can expect to have. Personally, I replaced some windows in my house several years ago and immediately saw the energy savings. It was in the wintertime, saved them put them in when it was snowing, and it was the perfect time to do it. In the newer homes, most of the windows that are being installed are already energy efficient because they know how big of an impact that can be. People like to have windows in their home, but it is also a place that can easily lose energy. So the manufacturers are trying to make the windows more energy efficient so that the homes are more energy efficient. One of the things that is happening a lot is a product called low E glass, and it's a coating that goes on the inside of the glass that helps with that UV rating to keep the energy efficiency high, keep the UV rating good so that you're not getting the fading inside. Argon gas at one time was very popular, and it's starting to fade out because of the low E. The low E is doing all of that, and it's just a much better product. Low E is virtually clear. Some of our technicians that have a lot of experience can spot it by eye. Most people cannot tell that the coating is there. We actually have a meter that we use that senses the coating because it is that light. A lot of times people will feel what I consider to be a draft coming around their windows, and there's a lot of possibilities as to why that happens. Either the customer can look themselves, or they can contact a glass company or a home repair specialist. A lot of times the caulking that they used to use was a latex-based caulking, and it was designed to only hold up for a year or two. So if you've been in your house for a couple years, you may want to walk around your windows and see if that caulking is starting to crack. When you do look for new caulking, you want to find a product that's urethane-based. It will hold up much longer and give you just a much better caulk job. The other thing that you want to look at is when you open that window, there's going to be the spline, the weather stripping. You want to make sure that that weather stripping and spline is intact. You want to make sure that the window latch is closed all the way, that all the latches are good, because all those are places where air can come in when you don't want them to. One of the wonderful things about glass and glazing in today's environment is that so much of it is recyclable. And we all like to feel that we're doing something to save the environment, and glass is just a very sustainable product. So when you're using it, you can feel good about it, that you're not doing anything to further harm the environment with it. If you have an older home and you're liking the look of those individual pane of windows and you do want to go with a replacement window, then metal muttons can be put in the glass that helps give it that same appearance of the old wood window. And then also, if you're not wanting to replace it, you can caulk those individual windows. Another option that can increase energy savings that might be even less expensive than the replacement windows, but yet offer more than just caulking the windows, would be storm windows. It was basically the first concept of the insulated window because it had that huge airspace, but they can be cumbersome and aggravating with, opening them and cleaning them and that kind of thing. A lot of people ask us about when their windows fog up and they get that dirt or that fog in between the two panels of glass. Basically what that means is that the seal has failed. So not only is it a cosmetic thing, but it's also not as effective as it could be. So when possible, you do want to replace those. There's so many different standard sizes of windows. Each manufacturer has his own standard size, just like the car manufacturers have their standards of different things. So when someone calls us and says, oh, it's a standard size window, it all depends on the manufacturer, and those manufacturers have hundreds of standard sizes. So we make units here for more of an emergency basis, when people need one or two windows. And basically what it is there's a spacer, a metal spacer, and they're putting a desiccant in there to dry that out to help ensure that there's no failure of the unit and make sure that it stays clean and dry inside. And then from that, they're using a caulk to seal the edges of that. When the seal does fail on an insulated window, the only option is to replace it. If you're noticing that your power bill is a little bit higher than you want it to be, one of the things that you definitely can do is walk around the house, look at your windows, feel for drafts, check the caulking around your windows, and feel free to call Allstate Glass. We'll be more than happy to help you with that.